Hello, Algebra 2 folks, and welcome to Adding and Subtracting Rational Expressions. But the kicker is we have to make common denominators. All right, remember, I said it's going to get a little tricky, especially with all those x's. So you need your thinking cap, you need a pencil, and you need to take good notes. All right. So the objective today is to be able to add and subtract those rational expressions, but then be able to simplify them, put them together and simplify them correctly in the end. All right, so let's think about it. 3 cows and 4 cows. What you got? You're right, 7 cows. Good. 2 cows, 3 ducks. I hope you said 2 cows and 3 ducks, because you can't put them together because they are not like. They don't look alike. They're not the same. We don't have 5 cow ducks, okay? So when we're adding fractions, general fractions, we talked about this on Friday, we have to have a lowest common denominator. They have to look the same on the bottom. All right. So, fraction number 1, all the factors of 5. Well, that's 5 and 1. Remember, I don't need to write the 1 down. Fraction number 2, all the factors of 10. 5 and 2. The lowest common denominator, and yes, you must write this down every time. The lowest common denominator is 5 times 2. All right, so what's the first fraction missing? It's missing a 2, so I got to multiply by 2. 2 tenths plus, second fraction isn't missing anything, 7 tenths. These are the same. If they're the same, I can add the numerators. 2 plus 7 is 9. Keep the bottom 10. If I could simplify it, I would go more simple, but I can't simplify that. 9 and 10 don't simplify anymore, so we're done. 9 over 10. All right. Now, in order to add or subtract rational expressions with unlike denominators, and we're talking about not just numbers, but numbers and x's, we have to find the least common denominator. Not just any denominator you want, but the least common denominator. So, in order to find that common denominator, we have to be thinking about multiplying and factors, not terms or adding. Okay? So keep that in mind. We have to think what is the highest power of every factor? That's always going to be my least common denominator. Okay, so let's do example number 1. I made this little handy dandy table. It makes things a little bit easier and more organized. All right, fraction number 1. All the factors of 3 and x. Well, that means 3 times x. So 3 is a factor and x is a factor. Okay, fraction number 2. All the factors of x squared. Well, x squared is just x squared. Okay, and I put it underneath the same thing, same factors go in the same columns. What is the lowest common denominator? Every factor of highest power, 3x squared. Okay, that is my lowest common denominator. That is what I want in both the denominators. And if it's not there, we got to figure out how to make it that. So what's the first fraction missing? The first fraction is missing an x, a power of x. So I'm going to multiply each one by x. This becomes 2x over 3x squared. Now that should match my lowest common denominator, and it does. Okay, now what's the second fraction missing? Well, if I look here, it's missing a 3. So I'm going to multiply the top by 3 and the bottom by 3. 15 over 3x squared. Does that look the same as that? If these two things are the same, I can add the numerators. So 2x plus 15 is 2x plus 15. Can't add them together. They're not like terms. And then we have 3x squared. This should match your lowest common denominator. Okay? And then, can I simplify? Can I factor anything and cancel anything out to simplify it? Well, it doesn't look like the top is factorable, so I'm going to say that this is the final answer. Nothing can cancel. Okay, I probably could have circled this one over here, but I had the bottom already worked. I mean, I put this arrow and stuff, so I just rewrote it. The same thing. All right, example number 2. Again, I made my handy dandy chart, okay? And I'm going to look at each fraction individually. So the first fraction, lowest common denominator, is what I'm looking for. So I need all the factors of this denominator. Ooh, that is a difference of 2 squares. So I need to say x minus 2 and x plus 2. So the factors are x plus 2 and x minus 2, and I can write them in any order. It doesn't matter which one I write first or second. Okay, those are all my factors of fraction number 1. Fraction number 2, all the factors on the bottom. Well, there's only one, and it's an x minus 2. So the lowest common denominator is every factor of highest power. So x plus 2 times x minus 2. All right, so now, what is the first fraction missing from the lowest common denominator? It's not missing anything. So I'm going to just rewrite it. I like that when that happens. I don't have to do any sort of multiplication or anything. What is the second fraction missing? Oh, it's missing an x plus 2. So I need to multiply the top by x plus 2 and the bottom by x plus 2. I'm going to go ahead and do that right away. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times 6, or 3 times 2 is 6. And then the bottom is x minus 2, x plus 2. The bottoms look identical, so I can add the numerators. And when I add the numerators, I add anything that's in common. So 3x and 4x makes 7x. And 1 plus 6 makes 7. And then I leave the bottom, x minus 2, x plus 2. And what I would do to try to simplify this is I would try to make sure that I don't have anything else that can be factored so that I can cancel. So now I can take 7 out of 7x plus 7, and I get 7 times x plus 1 over x minus 2, x plus 2. Nothing cancels, so that is my final answer. All right, let's do another one. Handy dandy table. First fraction, what are the factors? Well, there's nothing that can factor, so it's just x minus 5. Oh, it's x plus 5, excuse me. So x plus 5 is the only factor. Now let's look at fraction number 2. X squared plus 10x plus 25. I think I can factor that. 2 factors of 25 that make 10, 5 and 5. Put them in your squares. X squared plus 5x plus 5x plus 25. X and 5, x and 5. This factors into x plus 5 and x plus 5, which is the same thing as x plus 5 quantity squared. So x plus 5 quantity squared goes there. What is my lowest common denominator? You take every fraction or every factor of highest power from every fraction. So this would be x plus 5 squared. So the lowest common denominator is x plus 5 squared. Okay, so what is the first fraction missing from the denominator? It's missing a squared. Now that doesn't mean I just go ahead and square these. It's actually missing a whole x plus 5. So I have to multiply by x plus 5 on top and on bottom. So this is 4x plus 20 over x plus 5 squared minus 6x minus 1 over x plus 5 squared. All right, now I'm subtracting two fractions. Now, this says subtract everything. So what I need to do and make sure is that I distribute that negative to everything. So this would be 4x plus 20 minus 6x plus 1 all over x plus 5 squared. All right, so that would become negative 2x, gotta fix that there, negative 2x plus 21 over x plus 5 quantity squared. Now, is anything on top break down? Does it factor anymore? Nope, nothing cancels, so that would be my final answer. All right, let's do one more. And this time I got 3 fractions. Whew, so I need a table with 3. So let's start with fraction number 1. All the factors here. Well, I can take a 3 out. So it'd be x minus 3 and 3. So it'd be 3 times x minus 3. All the factors of number 2 fraction. This is a difference of 2 squares, so it's x minus 3 and x plus 3. So I'd put the x minus 3 here, I'd put the x plus 3 here. Okay, now I have to look at fraction number 3. I can take out a 6. That would give me x plus 3. 6 breaks down into 2 times 3. Okay, so I have a 3, a 2, and an x plus 3. Those are all my factors of number 3 fraction. Now that I have my table, I can find my lowest common denominator by taking every factor of highest power in every column. So my lowest common denominator would be 3, x minus 3, x plus 3, and then times 2. I'm going to put that times 2 right there. All right, so looking at every single one of these, what is this missing? It's missing a 2 and an x plus 3. So I need to multiply the top by 2 and x plus 3. Okay, and I need to do that to the bottom. So now the bottom becomes 2 times 3 times x minus 3 times x plus 3, and the top becomes 2x. Okay, so 2 times x is 2x, and now I'm going to multiply that by x. 2x times x would be 2x squared, and 2x times 3 would be 6x. Now I look at the next one. What is it missing? It's missing a 2 and a 3. So we have to multiply the bottom by 2 and 3, and we have to multiply the top by 2 and 3. So this would be 6 over 2 times 3 times x minus 3 times x plus 3. Plus, now what are we missing on the third fraction? We're missing the x minus 3, okay? You can see what they're missing by their open spaces, okay? That kind of helps. So the third fraction is missing the x minus 3, so I got to multiply the top by x minus 3 and the bottom by x minus 3. So then the bottom becomes 2 times 3 times x minus 3 times x plus 3. Whew, this one's a tough one. All over 4x minus 12. Whew, I think I'm done. I think all my denominators look the same, so what can I do? I can add all the numerators. Let's do that. 2x squared doesn't have any other things to add to it. 6x and 4x is 10x. And 6 minus 12, or subtract 12, is negative 6. All over 2 times 3 times x minus 3 times x plus 3. Whew, we might be done, but we're not. The top can be a 2. We can take a 2 out of the top. So we're going to get 2 times x squared plus 5x minus 3 all over 2 times 3 times x minus 3 times x plus 3. And then that would make the 2's cancel. I don't believe anything, 2 factors of 3 that make 5, that's not factorable. So we're going to leave it as x squared plus 5x minus 3 all over 3 times x minus 3 times x plus 3. Whew! That one was a tough one. That is the last problem I'm going to do. I hope you took good notes. I know that there's a lot of work to these, but the main thing is you know how to factor and find the lowest common denominator, and it's not really that bad. All right, thanks for taking good notes, and we'll see you tomorrow to start practicing.